Okay. Before I begin, I just would like to take a moment to thank all my relations and to acknowledge, honor, and thank the Ohlone, whose land upon which we stand. Here we have a marquee that serves as an entry sign to Chicano Park. This sign signals that one stands in Chicano Park, which sits underneath the Coronado Bridge and Interstate 5 freeway interchange, cutting directly through Barrio Logan, San Diego's oldest Mexican-American Latino neighborhood. Chicano Park is 7.4 acres and features an estimated 89 murals that adorn highway pillars, handball courts, and almost all available wall space imaginable. Today, the park is both a National Historic Landmark and an active community commons, as seen here in the 2017 Chicano Park Day, an annual celebration that commemorates the initial park takeover. Standing before the marquee, one states, "I have arrived." Yet, as I stand before this marquee, I see a sign within a sign that doesn't signify an arrival. The sign within the sign I see is the word Chicano, which signifies the first iteration in a process to manifest futurity. Rather than an endpoint, the sign signals the beginning of a path that continues to unfold. The word Chicano operates as a sign that is an idea, an ideality, identity, and method with conflicting significations. Chicano emerged as a movement idea in the 1960s that has remained plastic, where it has been resignified from Chicano to Chicano with an X, to Chicana/O, to Chicanat, to Chicanex with an X at the end, to Chicanex with two X's. Each iteration of the sign's form was a response to enclosure of the idea, identity, and method along ideologies that are contradictory to the social justice efforts that informed the sign's creation. These resignifications were led by transnational, feminist, queer, and decolonial interventions. The park was created out of the context of the Chicano movement through a community takeover on April 20th, 1970, whereby Barrio Logan community members occupied the dirt plot of land under the newly constructed Coronado Bridge, using their bodies to stop the bulldozers from starting construction on a California Highway Patrol substation. Here we see community members creating a human barrier, blockading construction vehicles from beginning work. Behind the human barrier stands the pillars that would become primary sites within the park, where a visual signifying language would be created for Chicano subjectivity. Here, in the first moments of the takeover and occupation, youth dig, plot, and plow the dirt under Highway 75, planting the seeds that would become Chicano Park. Their first signifying gesture was to tape a quickly made poster to the pillar, signifying the occupation as a representation of Chicano power. My central question is how visual representations on these pillars imagine Chicano subjectivity as an enclosure or as a plastic sign open to signification. Out of the enormous scope of muralism and culture visualized and performed within the park, there is one pillar that contains two murals that visually represents the debate over the signification of the sign Chicano. This pillar is one of two that were assigned to the Royal Chicano Air Force, an influential Sacramento-based Chicano art collective, to paint during the second wave of muralism that occurred in 1975. The pillar, previously covered in graffiti, here is primed and prepped for muralism. If you approach this pillar from the Logan Avenue parking lot, you'll first encounter "Women Hold Up Half the Sky" seen here on the right. This mural was originally painted in 1975 by Celia Herrera Rodriguez, Irma Lerma Barbosa, Rosalinda Montes Palacios, Antonio Mendoza, and Barbara Desmangues. Initially, the Royal Chicano Air Force leadership planned to have a group composed of only men take direction on the four potential murals that would result from the two assigned pillars. As a result, this collective of women left before their RCAF male counterparts in 1975 occupied one side of this pillar and began their own mural. Here, this collective of artists visually construct "Women Hold Up Half the Sky." This occupation would lead to a court-martial. This is well documented in Marilyn Mulford's 1988 documentary Chicano Park, in which Jose Montoya, RCAF co-founder and early leader of the Chicano movement, describes the reasoning for the court-martial while addressing critiques of patriarchy within the collective.
The RCAF women left here earlier They had already started their mural when we got there. And I think the women messed up by jumping the gun. See, they took off without letting us know. So it was a solo flight that usually in the RCAF, you know, it's a court martial, man. In which case they would have come back and said, what are you talking about? We know you guys too well. Again, it's the old machismo coming out. But they did a very beautiful pillar.
Montoya's narrative expresses an awareness of the court-martial as a patriarchal gesture, but affirms that there were protocols for the collective that should have taken precedent. The documentary treats the court-martial humorously, yet when the mural was restored in 2012, the local community newspaper La Prensa did an interview with the lead artist of Women Hold Up Half the Sky, in which they recounted the controversy surrounding their mural and the subsequent court-martial, which they describe in hindsight as traumatic. Women Hold Up Half the Sky was created through an occupation, and like the larger occupation that formed Chicano Park, sought to create space for subjectivities and methodologies that had been excluded from full representation. In the 1975 iteration of Women Hold Up Half the Sky, seen here, feminist agency is foregrounded. Within the T-shaped pillar structure, women kneel and with little effort uphold the sky, which is simultaneously the Coronado Bridge. Down the pillar's shaft, seen through a detail on the right, a woman holds a child who sits within a vessel that simultaneously represents a map of the global south. On the left, the pillar symbolic representations of Chicano indigeneity visually intersect with two naked women playing flutes. Throughout the mural, water is subtly represented through a solid blue background and waves that rest at the bottom. When the artists of Women Hold Up Half the Sky occupied one side of the RCAF pillar, I argue they visually resignified the Chicano to Chicana/O. Women Hold Up Half the Sky accomplishes this visual signification through strategic absences, and the 1970 tropes of patriarchal nationalism are subverted and replaced with transnational feminism. Within the realm of feminist interventions of the 1960s and 70s, Women Hold Up Half the Sky may have slipped into tropes of women as generative productive forces, yet within the context of Chicano Park, and specifically this pillar, Women Hold Up Half the Sky is nothing less than a radical revisioning of Chicana subjectivity. In 1975, if you walked around Women Hold Up Half the Sky, you'd be standing before Jose Montoya's Leyes La Familia. This mural is composed of three figures, man, woman, and child. The man stands behind the woman, who in turn stands behind the boy. The boy stands fully exposed before the viewer, holding a book with the title Leyes. The man towers above the woman. His arms extend outward across the top of the T-shaped pillar. His arms are free, and the pillar is his. The woman, who stands before the man, looks off to the side with her arms tightly bound to the boy, whose arms are tightly bound to his book. The book's title, Leyes, translates as laws. For the boy, this book is his instructional manual for participation within the Chicano movement. The family represented in Leyes is not isolated. It stands as a metonym for subjectivity within the broader Chicano movement. The context in which Leyes emerges is important. It was painted on the same pillar and after the feminist gestures expressed in Women Hold Up Half the Sky. As a result, Leyes can be read as a response to the agency represented on its opposite side. Within Women Hold Up Half the Sky, women's arms uphold the sky, generate new life, and produce culture. Within Leyes, women's arms are bound to the child. In Women Hold Up Half the Sky, men are absent. Within Leyes, the man towers above the family, occupying the pillar. On its own, Leyes follows many tropes of early Chicano muralism, but within its context, on this one pillar, it reads as a patriarchal pronouncement for Chicano nationalism. In 2012, Leyes La Familia and Women Hold Up Half the Sky were part of a $1.6 million grant to restore and maintain the complete integrity of the murals within Chicano Park as a part of the multi-decade effort to seismically retrofit the Coronado Bridge and Interstate 5 freeway interchange. Leyes was restored in exactitude. This stands in stark contrast to Women Hold Up Half the Sky, which was significantly updated with deeper indigenous symbolism and visual references to the contemporary material conditions of the community. In 2012, no opportunity was taken to imbue Leyes La Familia with new meaning. On the opposite side of the pillar, Women Hold Up Half the Sky advances its initial visual signifying gestures by now advancing Chicanx with two X's. It achieves this resignification by destabilizing nationalist and gendered scripts for a focus on decolonization that is rooted in the material conditions of the community. The most significant change in the 2012 restoration of Women Hold Up Half the Sky is the representation of water as a decolonial ceremonial element and as a precarious commodity within the Chicano community. While the imagery in this mural could remain in the realm of the symbolic and metaphorical, the artist ground water as an enclosed commodity that has been rendered precarious for historically marginalized communities. At the bottom of the mural, standing on the ground and at eye level, with a passerby or viewer, a person stands and holds a 5-gallon water bottle in front of a water dispensary. Text along the side of the dispensary reads, "El agua es sagrada, el agua es la vida." Water is sacred, water is life. They stand in stark contrast to those at the top holding the sky. Both are exerting labor, but the figures holding the sky exert very little effort. It is as if the sky were weightless. Yet the figure at the bottom is clearly weighed down by the 5-gallon water bottle, struggling to walk forward toward the viewer so as to persist. Due to the divergent approaches to restoration, Women Hold Up Half the Sky can be read as an incomplete mural, still in formation, mirroring the incomplete ongoing signification of the sign Chicano, whereas the fixity and static nature of Leia's gestures towards Chicano as an enclosure. With Women Hold Up Half the Sky as a mural in process, and Leia's La Familia enclosed, I ask, how do we continue to disrupt enclosures so Chicano to Chicanx subjectivity remains open and plastic as a method for futurity? Thank you.